retaining wall is basically a structure that's used to support soils in a sloped environment. You want to have a retaining wall constructed in such a way that it can hold the load that's being applied to it from the soil. Basically, we have two primary types of retaining walls. One is called a gravity wall. Basically, a gravity wall utilizes the mass of the actual product that you're using to support the soils. The second type of retaining wall is a reinforced retaining wall, and basically a reinforced retaining wall utilizes some sort of tie-back material or some sort of soil reinforcement material to add strength to the products that you're using to construct the retaining wall out of. The decision whether you use a gravity wall and or whether you use a reinforced wall can be relative to what kind of loads are going to be applied to it from the soils. And some of those factors can include things like how tall the wall is, what type of material you're holding up, and what the likelihood is of auxiliary loads being applied to the wall, meaning like having a car parked above it or holding up a street. So those are kind of the functions of how you would choose what to make a retaining wall out of. So retaining walls are installed in a variety of ways depending on what the material selections are. There's basically 4 primary types of materials used in a wall. You use concrete-based products as one type of material. You can utilize some sort of stone product as a secondary material that you might use. The third material might be wood. Retaining walls are constructed out of wood, and a fourth material would generally be steel. So those are the 4 primary types of materials used. So when you're deciding how to select one of those products, factors might be the load being applied, the aesthetic that you're looking for, the cost, or the general, maybe the availability of the materials. If you need a retaining wall and don't install a retaining wall, you're likely going to have erosion. That erosion could be something as simple as just a hill washing away a little bit, or it could be as substantial as a landslide, or depending on what you're trying to hold up, it could fall down. Obviously, if you need a retaining wall, you're going to have to put one in. As far as improperly installing a retaining wall, that can have kind of cataclysmic results if you do it improperly. Depending on what you're trying to hold up, a collapse of a retaining wall is not that uncommon because they're often improperly installed, whether it be by a homeowner or by someone who isn't skilled enough to have taken on the project. Basically, most retaining walls happen failures happen when the load that is applied to the retaining wall exceeds its design structural strength. And oftentimes it happens from large rain events because it saturates the soils and loads up that adds additional stress onto the retaining wall, and then they collapse and wash out. So taking all those factors into consideration while you're designing a retaining wall are critical. And then having someone who's experienced enough and knowledgeable enough to execute the installation is just as critical as the design itself.